How's it going, folks? Hope we're all keeping well. You're very welcome to our final lesson on primary activities part 2, peatlands. Okay, so today we're going to look at why we should protect bogs, and then we're going to just do a quick recap over some of the key terms in our chapter. Okay, now why would we protect bogs? Well, Ireland has the greatest extent of active bogland in Europe. So Ireland has basically the most amount of active used bogs in Europe. Okay, and why should we protect them? Well, the first point there, or the second point, bogs act as a carbon store. What does this mean? This means that bogs will kind of store and absorb CO2, which is harmful for the environment. Okay, when you cut away a bog, it releases this CO2. Okay, so that's why a lot of people think we should protect the bogs and not go near them. Okay, and by doing this, we're keeping that harmful CO2, harmful carbon dioxide gas trapped in the bog. Okay, why else protect bogs? Well, bogs are home to many plants such as sphagnum, moss, lichen, sundew, and bog rosemary. Okay, and guys, these are special plants that can only grow in a bog. Okay, you can't plant bog rosemary in your back garden, unfortunately. Okay, so these are unique plants to bogs, and if we want to keep these plants, for future generations, we have to protect the bogs. Okay, because they can only grow in bogs. They can't grow in a back garden or in a greenhouse or anywhere like that. Okay. Final point on this slide on why we should protect bogs. Bogs are rich in animal life and include hares, grouse, frogs, dragonflies, and curlew. Okay, so lots of really kind of some unusual types of animals and insects there. Again, guys, these only live in bogs. Okay, if you look at the pictures to the right hand side there, we've got a real good variety of different type of animals as well as plants that can be found in a bogland habitat. Okay, and again, like if you're it's a bit like, burning down the Amazon rainforest. If you go and take and cut up a bog, you're destroying the habitat for all these animals, and these are animals that are unique to bogs. Okay, same as plants, they can't really live anywhere else. Okay, unfortunately, they're not really built to live anywhere else apart from a bog. Why? Because a bog has got stuff that they feed on. It's got the right kind of conditions, temperature, and humidity for them to survive in. Okay, now why else protect bogs? Well, as we've already said, cutting bogs destroys habitats. Okay, so again, if you cut a bog, you're destroying plant habitats and animal habitats. And it also releases carbon dioxide into the air. So that goes back to, guys, this point here. We said that bogs act as a carbon store. Okay, so they store carbon dioxide within themselves. And if you cut or dig that bog, where's that carbon dioxide going to go? It's going to get released into the atmosphere. Okay, only about 10% of raised bog remains. Okay, so guys, we've basically nearly used, like, bogs would have provided a really important fuel source going back over the last couple of centuries. Okay, the bottom right picture there, that's how they used to harvest turf. Okay, so people would go in, they would dig it up, and they would leave it in little piles like this. And the reason why it's left in those little piles is basically so it dries out, so it can be used in fire. And turf would have been a key fuel source for heating homes as well as cooking, maybe in your grandparents and great grandparents in their generation. Okay, because it was such an important fuel source going back in Ireland over the last couple of centuries, only 10% of raised bog remains. Okay, and the government want to protect this last 10%. Why? Well, again, these bogs are going to contain habitats for wildlife, for animals, and they contain CO2 that, as you know, at the moment, with global warming being an issue, it's important that we don't release this CO2 into the atmosphere. Okay, so as a result, the government has come up with something called the National Peatland Strategy to manage our bogs. Okay, and that's, you can see in the top right here, that is a picture of the copy from that strategy. Okay, the draft copy of that strategy. And again, that strategy outlines a number of ways which we can reduce our impact on bogs. So reduce the amount of harvesting we do on bogs, reduce the way we interact with bogs, and that tourists don't go to bogs and damage them, and look for alternative fuel sources. Okay, so other sources of fuel to get rid of so we don't have to rely on using peat anymore. Okay, and over time the aim is to reduce our impact on bogs and to preserve their habitat. Okay, what other big company has pledged to reduce or stop using bogs? Bord na Móna. Okay, so Bord na Móna, the company that makes the briquettes that you throw into your fire, again, that's a company that by 2030, so in 10 years from now, they plan to have completely stopped harvesting bogs. Okay, now to recap, okay, so a bit of a summary, guys, on the entire chapter here. So peat. So guys, peat is basically what you cut out of a bog. Here we have a lovely pile of peat here. Again, why is that pile of peat there? That pile of peat is there so it can dry, okay? Now peat is kind of like a fossil fuel. It's a finite resource, so it means it runs out, okay? It won't be there forever. And also burning peat does what? It generates carbon emissions, which is bad for the environment, okay? We have, if we go now on to types of bogs, we have two types of bog. We have a raised bog, okay, and a blanket bog. A raised bog is found on kind of flat land, in particular in Ireland in the Midlands, so the likes of like Westmeath, Longford, that kind of area, okay. They're quite deep. They're about 8 meters deep, so you can get quite a lot of peat from a raised bog, okay. Our second type of bog is this fella here, a blanket bog, and a blanket bog is found in the west of Ireland, and they're found on mountain slopes and areas of heavy rainfall. And a blanket bog is about 3 meters deep. Okay, now how do you remember those apart? Well, think about it. A blanket bog, guys, is found up in an upland area on a mountain. If you're on a mountain, it can be cold, so you might need a blanket. Okay, so that's why a blanket bog is up in a mountain. Now, exploiting peat bogs. Okay, so to overexploit something, to exploit something is basically to take from it. Okay, and we're kind of nearly overexploiting our bogs, and that's the reason, guys, why you've got Bord na Móna pledging to stop harvesting from peat from bogs, and you've got the National Peatland Strategy to help protect bogs. Okay, so it's an extractive industry. What does extract? To extract something is to take something out, and that's exactly what peat production is. So they're taking peat out of a bog, okay? And peat used to be harvested using a little trowel called a swan or a slane. Now it's done by modern machinery, so it's done by tractors with special harvesters, and that's made the peat extraction process a lot more efficient, and they take out a lot more peat, okay? Now, what's the main body or company in Ireland responsible for peat extraction? These fellas here, Bord na Móna, okay? Go home, guys, if you have in your garage or around your fire a bale of peat briquettes, look on the side of it, you'll see BNM, Bord na Móna. That's their kind of signature on the side of the peat briquettes, okay? And who are Bord na Móna and what do they provide? Well, they were set up by the government in 1946 to develop the peat industry. Okay, and Bord na Móna developed peat, which is used for, it's used to generate electricity for all of Ireland. It's also used to light fires in our homes, to heat our homes, and to cook. Okay, Bord na Móna were the first company, guys, to use the modern machinery, so use things like tractors and these brand new harvesters to start harvesting peat. Okay, now there are a number of steps when it comes to exploiting peat. So step one, the bog is drained and prepared. Okay, so again, how do they drain the bog? They use a thing called a ditcher, and a ditcher is basically a thing that digs a long trench or a long little ditch in the bog. Okay, and what does this do? This means that the excess water can run off into the ditch. A grader is then used. So a grader is like a big rolling pin basically, and that's used to flatten the surface. Okay, to level the surface. Step two, the peat is harvested. A miller is the main harvester. So a miller is like a combine harvester for bogs, and that's used to scrape off the top layer of peat. Okay, now as we know, peat has to dry. So next thing is this thing here called a spoon harrow. Spoon harrow is a special machine that just drives along and it flips the peat onto its sides, okay? And when it flips on, so it can dry on one side, the spoon harrow flips onto the other side, it can dry on the other, okay? And then something called a ridger gathers it into ridges. So another machine, a ridger, comes along and gathers it into ridges, and what this means is that it can be used and loaded onto a train for transport. Okay, step three, the peat is transported. Today, there's actually Bord na Móna have set up a small little light rail system. Okay, and that's just a more efficient way of transporting their peat to their plants. Okay, so the peat is processed. It's either processed into Bord na Móna briquettes or it's used to generate electricity. Okay, and then it's obviously sold to us. Now, the future of peat bogs. So again, guys, there's people have mixed opinions on peat bogs. Some people think, oh sure, it's a great resource to have bogs in our country, because not every country has bogs, and it's a great resource to have them, so we should use them. Okay, so a lot of people think we should use bogs until bogs run out. Okay, now what's bad about this? Well, by doing this, you're destroying natural habitats for plants and animals. Cutting away bogs also releases CO2 into the atmosphere. Okay. Others think we should preserve bogs. Others think, we should preserve bogs. Why? Again, to preserve our animals' natural habitats, to preserve plants' natural habitats, and to stop harmful CO2 being released into the atmosphere. Okay. Cutaway bog. So a cutaway bog, guys, is a bog that's been used up. Remember, when you harvest a bog, it's not like a field of wheat or barley. You can't replant it. Once you get rid of a bog, it's gone. Okay. Now, what bogs can be used for, if you cut away a bog, you can use it to plant coniferous trees. Okay, or you could use it as a wetlands for wildlife or for wind farms. Okay, so when you do cut away bogs, guys, there are alternative uses for the bog. Okay, or the cutaway bog. Folks, thank you for watching. Again, refer to the very last slide for the questions to do this evening. Thank you.